Get strong.
Alrighty, well, a very, very, very happy Thursday, and welcome to the throw-in here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Justin here, back with a 2-hour program. Want to welcome you guys in. Want to go ahead and apologize yesterday for the kind of lackluster audio that I provided. I didn't realize that I was set up to be on the camera audio that I have, but so I made sure that the audio is connected perfectly this time. Well, man, I'm planning on having a good program with you guys today. I got a couple of things that I want to talk about. Probably a little slower day in sports because the Reds have the day off. Okay, we just coming off of an AEW Dynamite, which was packed brim and stone through and through. So we will kind of talk a little bit about that. I want to know what we're going to bring up. There's a couple of subjects I want to bring up that kind of turns down throughout the world of sports. So a couple of things that I want to talk about today in today's program. And, just because I want to talk about something doesn't mean we have to talk about something. If there's something that you guys want to talk about and there's a subject that you guys want to bring up, then in the YouTube comment, you guys have to head on over to our YouTube channel. And under our YouTube channel, head on, in the comment section, give me ideas. Give me stuff that you guys want me to weigh in my opinions and thoughts. So, but today, what I have kind of in store for you guys today, only in the back end, want to talk about the quarterback issue with some of these teams as the 49ers. I guess the question for the 49ers is, are they safe with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy going as quarterbacks for 2023 with injuries that's been lurking? Also, what are the options in Miami for Tua Tagovailoa? Something I learned this morning was that Tua is part of that 2020 class that has that contract extension, and this is the time, year where they can kind of consider putting long-term contracts on some of these quarterbacks, and he's along the line of the list of Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, who we already know that. Cincinnati is working out a deal, getting Herbert locked up long and set for the future for the Bengals, and then as well as Jalen Hurst from the Eagles. And right now, at least two of the four quarterbacks in the franchises are probably confident enough to be, all right, these two quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts, for the Bengals and for the Eagles, took their team within the first 4 years of their NFL career to the Super Bowl. And I think if you could take a team to the Super Bowl, then you should be given at least a few more years after that to determine, all right, are you a serious quarterback? Are you long-term and set, locked in? And I think Joe Burrow has the upper advantage over the other three quarterbacks because he was the first quarterback out of these four guys that were capable of going to the Super Bowl. And if you look back on when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, and I'll tell you this, the Eagles probably had a better chance, had a better roster on paper than the Bengals did. And so, if you would have asked me, 2 years ago when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl and met the Rams, and yeah, although they lost, they met the Rams. And if you would have asked me that year, if I was having to choose the option between Joe Burrow and the Bengals or Jalen Hurts and the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl that year, my odds would have been in favor to the Eagles, at least that year. I thought my biggest concern coming out of that 2 years ago was Joe Burrow being injured and how he was going to come back as a quarterback. And trust me, I think there's a lot that's been said and done since then, with the terrible offensive line. He not only he came back from a major injury, but he thrived under the conditions that he didn't have a offensive line to protect him. And so Joe Burrow has the upper advantage in my books out of these four quarterbacks. And now he says contract year, they can opt down and wait next year, but I think that would look bad on the relationship between Joe Burrow and the Bengals. So I think that you have to kind of get something done by May 1st. When I feel comfortable with Jalen Hurts because he has been capable of taking the Eagles to the playoffs. Now, that NFC East, beginning of the season, would you have guessed or predicted the Eagles nonetheless making to the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl? A lot of things went right. And we were about to also overlook Jalen Hurts. I think a lot of people were ready to overlook him. And things could be very different today if Jalen Hurts didn't, take the team as far as he did. Now, given that he's still very, that he is injury prone. I think a lot of players these days are injury prone in the NFL. But, he's had his fair share of injuries. But I think the Eagles are now convinced and bought in to Jalen Hurts being the long-term quarterback. The Chargers, I laugh at the Chargers because, don't get me wrong, no disrespect to Justin Herbert out there in Los Angeles. And I'm going to say this, is that any quarterback who plays for the Chargers in Los Angeles always has this just kind of a level, one-up level, that they have to be on their absolute A game. Because a few things have to happen. One, I think there's a still vast majority of the fans that don't like the Chargers ever since they moved up to LA, for one. Two, there is a standard that Los Angeles has when it comes down to having playing standard, and you can't be a crappy team in LA and get away with it. You have the Dodgers, the Angels, the Kings, the Ducks, the UCLA Bruins, not Bruins, Bruins, USC Trojans. You had the Rams, and then the Chargers, Lakers, and Clippers. And LA is one of those sports teams that there's, you could get away with a year, but you have to take control over the team, and you have to step up to the plate. And, and on top of that, you have to be better than the Rams, who are still the number one team in LA. And you have to be better than everyone else. So I think the standard is for Justin Herbert, giving him credit. He's a good quarterback, but and I think maybe this is the Chargers curse, in my opinion, because they could get to the playoffs. They're a good team. We know that they they're very good during regular season, but how well are they in the postseason? Last year against the Jaguars, they kind of just plummeted. So we'll talk about Tua Tagovailoa because the Dolphins are going to have a pretty big decision moving forward, and they don't look interested in rushing into that conversation or into that agreement, and I kind of agree. We'll go ahead and talk about. I want to talk about the Bloodline. That kind of came across an article this morning. It was actually listed yesterday, where the Bloodline ranks among greatest fractions. So I'm going to take they listed out 8 fractions, probably like the top 8 fractions of them all, and I kind of want to read them to you guys one by one and let you guys pick where you think that these fractions lie among the best of the best. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. We'll talk about the Lakers because they're sustaining injuries already, and it doesn't really look so good. And then we'll talk a little bit about AEW Dynamite, the go-home show before Revolution this weekend. Remember, wrestling is going to be pretty big for the month of March. All right. We are 31 days now away from WrestleMania 39. And I do want to also go ahead and mention that that they have yet to announce a Hall of Fame inductee yet this year. I don't know what their plans are but I think the only opinion I have on that is that I'm a little disappointed because I want, an induction ceremony, knowing that you're going to have a Hall of Fame event. You want to give these athletes who are going to be inducted this year enough attention. And I don't think the WWE is doing that this year. I don't know what the game plan is. I'm interested in finding out. But we're 31 days from WrestleMania. We are 29 days, and I think I got my math wrong yesterday, but 29 days from opening day of Major League Baseball, and everything else still be, in between. Now, like we said earlier this week, promoting the upcoming pay-per-view, not pay-per-view, but the last Road to WrestleMania, final roadblock, where Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns will go at it one more time in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And then that's going to be for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. So if you guys are in the area, I kind of want to know, is there a streaming service for this? Because everything changes for the tomorrow night, because tomorrow night is going to be huge. It's going to be a busy night for Roman Reigns. There's a couple of things on his plate. But Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, is the first pay-per-view of the year for AEW at AEW Revolution. And we talked about some of the matches yesterday, and we'll go over some of the matches tomorrow and give you maybe thoughts and opinions. And the big one that's sticking out is this past, I say about a month and a half rivalry between MJF and Bryan Danielson. And they're going to set way to square off in the ring this Sunday inside in an Iron Man match, 60 minutes long. And it's a rare sight. We don't quite see Iron Man matches all the time. But these two men have really started getting to each other as of late. And maybe I'm a fan, maybe I'm not a fan of this match. But the one thing I could tell you is that you see Bryan Danielson as this GOAT, as this hard-hitting athlete, as this person who, what's the best way to put it? He's a workhorse in professional wrestling. He's earned his way in everything that he's gotten. He's had to earn it the hard way, not the easy way. And not saying that MJF hasn't earned anything himself, but Bryan Danielson is, when you think of an Iron Man match, you think of Bryan, you tie him along to Bryan Danielson. It's like, all right, this suits him because you know he can go the distance and then more. And so I think this is a perfect playing field for Bryan Danielson, because no matter how many time, you could pin, is the rules of the match is a 60-man match. All right, it's 60-minute match, excuse me. And the winner is whoever has the most wins. Now, if it ends up in a tie, the winner goes to the current champion. So therefore, we will see, who's the best of the best. Now, MJF is going to have a couple of different strategies, which I think helps include him to win in this match coming up Sunday. And that's one, he does, quote unquote, run away and as the bad guy in this storyline that can be used to his advantage. So taking away time off the clock from Bryan Danielson to do what he needs to do. But in a normal match, we will say, I think one of the biggest difficulties and the most challenging part is going to be from MJF. He's going to get a real taste and a real look for this, in a match dealing with Bryan Danielson, because the longer Danielson is in a match, it seems like the better the better he gets. And for me, you think of 60 minutes, Danielson's already dangerous after 10 minutes. I do think that a part of this match is going to have to come down, if you want to favor MJF, some weapons. I would like to see weapons. We talked yesterday about the whole bleeding aspect of it, and the weapons may have to come into play. Blood may have to come into play. But we know that especially Bryan Danielson is a workhorse. He gives you 110% each and every time he's out there in the ring. And he's going to push MJF to his limits. He's going to give him a realistic look at what a tramp. And at the end of the day, whoever wins is going to make a better champion moving forward. I think especially if MJF could pull off a victory, and I have a good idea that MJF will win, then at the end, when this is all said and done, MJF will be a much better champion. But this is a good challenge for MJF. So, listen, like I said, I want to hear from you guys today. I got Trey already saying hi early this afternoon on this program. It's going to be 2 hours, so we'll be taking you guys up until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Nothing really going on in the world of sports. We'll talk about that in our program today. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, we thank you. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Be sure to have those notifications on and don't miss a single episode. If you guys are over on Facebook and Twitter, we thank you as well. Hit that like and share button. Make sure you share it with a friend. Pass on the word that we're going live, and that way people could jump in. If you guys are looking to jump into the conversations on our live stream, you guys want topics to talk about and say, hey, Justin, what's your opinion on this? I highly recommend, hey, go on over to our Facebook page and leave a comment down below. I get them. I'll read them. I'll even post them at some point. If you guys are downloading us and taking us on the road and listening to us, we want to thank you and appreciate all the listeners and everything. None of this is possible without you guys. All right, we're gonna step away, take our first time out of the afternoon. Come on back and talk a little bit about Reds baseball, as the Reds and the Athletics had a pretty interesting game yesterday. We'll give you all that detail here and much more to come. You guys are listening to The Throw-In with Justin. That's me right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting the days, lost in the rhythm. Physical silence, no need to speak a word, laying here beside me. Don't wanna move too fast. turning me on, the way you telling me you want me down. Done it, I done this before you fall. I won't catch you, don't know I'm sorry.
Alrighty, well, welcome back to the throw-in here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Taking guys up for the next 2 hours here on the program, ending at 2 p.m. None of this is possible without the ability from using StreamYard. And so I want to give a big shout out to StreamYard Studio, which makes all of this possible. It is a online, basically online application that allows you to allows you to make YouTube videos, host virtual business meetings, conduct interviews, and more. And, I've never thought coming on this program or beginning of this channel that I'll do anything with the YouTube channel. I have nothing, no experience. And I'd have no experience how to edit, how to do this and do that, how to go live. And StreamYard really makes it very simple and easy. You don't have, you can send out the link and have guests on your show, up to 10 people, depending on your subscription, have overlays, have banners and all that good stuff. Have a ticker down below. So StreamYard Studios. I highly recommend StreamYard Studios to someone who is looking to create their own podcast, their own video, virtual business meetings, or even whatnot. They have a free version today. You could check them out. Great stuff to use. And I've been using it since day one. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not willing to learn even more. I am, absolutely. And, sorry, excuse me. But StreamYard Studio has been very helpful. They make getting the show, the prep for the show, a lot easier. And it's nice because I'd rather put more work into the information than doing everything for setup. I mean, just a couple clicks of the buttons, I could get things ready and done. Maybe takes about an hour at most to get all this, what you see on the screen, ready to go. So thank you for StreamYard. It's I woke up this morning and I live in northern Kentucky, and where I live, it's kind of in back there in the woods area. We have kind of like kind of a woodsy trees, because I live in the back of mine complex. There's a woods of trees on the other side. There's houses, but yesterday was really nice outside. And, we normally get nice weather. And the one thing that I'm not a fan of, before moving out here in 2020, I absolutely despised of spiders. Couldn't stand them. Those they call daddy long legs, right? But I learned a new bug out here. And no, it's not the what is it called? Those flying insects that we got bombarded a couple years ago with. No, it's a bug that comes out and actually probably beneficial for your house, but man, they're horrible. And it's the house centipedes that just come out. And they're some are small, some are huge. And this morning, the wife was walking out. I was gonna take her to a medical clinic and then take her to work. And she starts screaming at the top of her lungs. And I drop everything. I'm like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And it comes to find out that there's a house centipede on the wall and it's moving. And these guys move pretty fast. And it's like, if you don't get them right away, then they're pretty much gone, and they'll go down into your baseboards. They'll go down up into your vents. I don't even know where they come out of. They just happenly somehow are on just somewhere, and they'll hide, and then they'll do this and do that. And man, I absolutely hate it. And I'm very big about bugs being here. I spray several times a year, and I just don't know the proper solution to get rid of these. And I'm talking, if you know, okay, so I know I probably shouldn't be doing this to you guys, and I'm not looking to traumatize you. So here's my pre-warning. If you guys don't like bugs, you guys don't like those centipedes, then I say stop the show, maybe fast forward. But I'm going to show you a picture for the people who don't know what I'm talking about. These are these centipedes. They're everywhere. And you get them once in a while. There's really no way, just to get rid of. There's no way to, I go the corny route, and I go out there and get. I use my vacuum because it gives me some distance with to getting the leg off. I can't go up there with a napkin and kill them. Today I tried killing one with a shoe, and that only did so well. And they just sit there, and you wonder, are they, every move, they're pretty still, and then you try to get them, and if you miss them, they're shooting off. So I absolutely hate house centipedes, and if you guys have solutions on things, so the complex that I live in, you can't use really any dangerous chemicals. So if you guys have non-dangerous chemicals or something that we could use to spray, I would love to get your thoughts and ideas. But man, I tell you, I did not. I hated spiders up until I hated house centipedes, and I moved out here now. And they only come out here during the spring and summertime because when it gets cold, they go away. But it's like we're pretty good at keeping the house up. So I'm like, where in the hell are they coming from, and why are they coming? We don't have any reason for them to come. So, but yeah, that's kind of that story with the centipede. So, like I said, if you have any information, let me know about that. Oh, alrighty. So the Cincinnati Reds had a tough battle yesterday, man. And you expect during spring training to have some tie ball games, and it's under the discretion of the umpires and the coaches on how far you want to take a ball game at. Majority of the time in spring training, they just finish off with 9 innings. Sometimes they pitch in the 10th innings just to see get some extra work in. The other day there was some complications with Baltimore and Pittsburgh, I believe back on Monday or Tuesday, where Pittsburgh won the game 7-4, but they wanted, both coaches agreed that they wanted to go down to the bottom of the 9th inning to get Pittsburgh's Pittsburgh's pitcher some extra work, and the umpires was like, listen, the ball game's done. I'm not gonna stay and watch call another half inning. Game's done. Let me get out of here. And I thought that was kind of silly, in all honesty opinion. So the Oakland A's and the Cincinnati Reds tied yesterday 14 apiece. Oakland put up 14 runs, 17 hits, 1 error through and through. Let me see. There we go. So I was just kind of doing some prep work as the Cincinnati Reds 14 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. It was Cincinnati's 10-run 8th inning. And you can only see this. You have to be there to believe it. That helped tie the ball game up closer to the time. I think they even took a lead. And then Oakland came back in the 9th to tie the game up. Graham Ashcraft went 2 innings with 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. We got a chance to see a lot of these younger guys. Richie Martin, Alan Serta, Christian Encarnacion, Strawn, all 8 home runs to help this ball club out. Encarnacion was the one to hit the ball, was an involvement in the 8th inning in one of those 10 runs, the 10-run inning to hit a home run. Encarnacion went 2 for 3 with the run and 5 RBIs. in yesterday's game. We have Richie Martin, who went 2 for 2, 3 runs, 5 RBIs, and a walk. Matt McClain scored 3 times without having a bat. He was walked 3 consecutive times to help the Redlegs tie the ball game. And I have Graham Zafcraft on his spring training outing here available. So let me see what I could do to pop that up real quick. And here's his what he has to say on out of his spring outing. Hold on 1 second.
I mean, I felt great. It felt like it went well. I mean, two-seam, Kirk was like, I mean, they were moving. They were great. They just somehow got the barrel to it. I mean, it's baseball. It's part of it. So.
Do you throw all the pitches you were willing to throw?
Yeah. I mean, slider, what we've been working on. I mean, it's come a long way through 10 out of 15 over the plate for strikes. So it's hard to complain.
I was literally about to say, it looked like you made a point to throw the slider.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something we've been working on and feel like it's coming along. Still got a little bit to go with it and just go see what happens with it.
And that was the one you wanted to work on in the offseason, right?
Well, no, we were going to try to go to a split change,
Split, that's what
but numbers against lefties just didn't make sense to do that. So we just needed to make sure the slider got better so we can get that punch out on righties.
All right. Well, that's what's Graham Ashcraft. And I think it's good to see that, hey, whatever they're working on is working. It's a time duly process. I mean, you know, I can't emphasize this enough that we expect that we're going to expect a lot out of these core guys and Hunter Green and Graham Ashcraft and Nick Lodolu. And we're going to have to allow margin for error when it comes down to these guys. And they're not going to be perfect in each and every outing. But, you know, it's nice to see some positivity lurking through the ball club. Will Myers was scratched, and I'm not going to go take a huge deal into it, but Will Myers was scratched yesterday to some back stiffness. And there's questions. You know, I'm not expecting this lineup to be perfect, but, you know, we're eager to see, Joey Votto back in this lineup. And, you know, it's going to be trying to figure out when he's available and, his road to recovery. There's questions about Joey Votto not even be ready for opening day, which is going to be such a bummer heading into the beginning of the season because, you know, we really need everyone on their, we need everyone on their A game. We need full sales away come opening day. And, we're excited. It's baseball season, man. Who cannot be excited? But they're off today. They will resume action tomorrow against the White Sox. Luke Weaver will get the nod back on the mound as we will see Chicago White Sox Dylan Cease on the mound to get that outing there. So that's that. Yeah. You know, the Los Angeles Lakers, I'll be surprised that we're talking about basketball here. Los Angeles Lakers are kind of running into their first official second half of the season problem. And if they're looking to make the postseason, they're going to have to figure something out. We'll talk about all of that still to come right here on The Throw-In. You guys are listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty, welcome back here to the throw-in. I feel like more of a chill day today.
Until the spring liberates me from my winter hell. I've got candles and candy. I can be your daddy if you only let me creep into your prison cell. Hey baby, can you tell I'm not a criminal?
All these songs coming back from break is given to you by Epidemic Sound. Just want to give them a quick shout out. Stay tuned by Lars Erickson. I like some of these songs that they give out, a little catchy as we return back from break. Man, yesterday, I had to mention, yesterday was a beautiful day in the world of sport. Some impressive victories we'll go over for Cincinnati in the Cincinnati area coming up at the top of the hour. But I want to get into some of the things, and I don't normally talk tremendous about a basketball on this program, but it is the second half of the season, and I feel like it's important that and I feel like it's important that we look into giving you or providing you some sort of outlook, because we talk about college basketball. And, I don't know how much of this helps if you guys are NBA fans or if you guys are NCAA fans. I give you the notes that I take. I kind of wish I was a little bit more of an NBA fan to give you more ideas. But, there are some sports topics, I think, as a journalist, broadcast, however you want to consider me, opinionist, where you excel on. And then there are some sports and stories where you don't excel on. And so I think NBA is one of those stories where I'm going to openly admit, and this is why we kind of stay away from, other than providing you Cincinnati's and Kentucky's, scores. This is I kind of stay away from it. But I try. And, I grew up in San Diego, and when I moved out here, I kind of grew up on the back end of the Lakers and Celtics. And I've always despised the Lakers for some reason. And don't ask me why. Was maybe because everyone else on planet Green Earth saying the Lakers were the best. And I'm like, Celtics are just as good. I used to be also a fan of jerseys. I really loved the green jersey that the Celtics have. But anyways, I move out here. We don't really have a college professional team. And I think that is a fine thing. I don't think we need one. I think we are fine where Xavier and Cincinnati and Kentucky are at. I think we're pretty good at, with college, sports here, even if, let's say, even if the Bengals, let's say Cincinnati didn't have a professional football team, I still think that we are very rich in college sports through and through, So, but, NBA second half of the season kind of brought to you the scoreboard, the standings, and where people sat out. And I think one team that I think attracts a lot of people's attention is, where are those Lakers at? Now, I remember at the beginning of the season, all right, last year they didn't do so hot, right? They had challenges after challenges after challenges. And this dream team that LeBron James magically put together just didn't work. And then the whole, there was controversy about, do we allow LeBron to continue making those deals, and, nitpicking at management saying, hey, we need him, and him. Or, does management finally take over? And I think an understanding was that, as good as LeBron James is, you have to allow him to have still some sort of input if you want a winning organization. Now, I'm going to tell you this: Lakers, back in 2020, winning the NBA Finals, I think on a hyphen season, and I'm not really showing too much excitement over that because there was a good amount of break that everyone had. The pandemic, there was people that weren't playing, and so on and so forth. But this year, Lakers, are kind of in the same boat. Now, they're not in a terrible position, but if they don't go and get themselves put together well enough, and they don't get their, act straightened up in the second half, and is going to be, I think that it's going to be an issue. And I don't know if the Lakers can really afford to miss a playoff run again. At least not this year. Not with LeBron James. Absolutely not. And so these Lakers, they gone on. They kicked off the second half of the season, I think, in a pretty good spot, right? They go on. Let me see what I could pull up. Past events. So I'm actually on the Lakers website right now. I would like to go down to, hold on one second. Takes me a minute to get there, like it always does. They go on and begin. He just got back from break. So they go on February 14th, 15th, and then they went back. All right, so this is where I'm at. So last Thursday, February 23rd, they come back from the All-Star break, and I think a lot of people were talking about what does the Lakers need to do to win? And I kept on hearing to myself, over and over and over again that the Lakers need to, there's a couple of things that the Lakers need to do. A couple of things are staying healthy because LeBron James and Anthony Davis are officially the core front of this team. It's a 1-2 combination, and they are the elite of the elite when these two men are playing in, together in each game. Well, what does the Lakers need to do to maintain their progress and have a good second half season? Well, one is obviously win games that you should be winning, right? And I definitely agree to that, right? It's just like baseball and just like football. These games that, here's a prime example, all right? I think the Reds knowingly are better than the Pittsburgh Pirates. So when opening weekend comes down, okay, here on March 28th, and the Pirates and the Reds square off in a 3-game series, you need to take advantage of winning those games. Now, I'm not saying that you have to sweep them, but you should be taking 2-1 at least. Falling short to the Pittsburgh Pirates to begin the season, I think, is not acceptable. We'll go over that here this month as we get ready for the baseball season to begin for the Reds and go over the wins of, how many, should they take the series? Should they lose? Especially what series should be taking? And how many games do you see them taking? I think that's going to be kind of fun going through that. But the Lakers, number one way is to continue playing Laker basketball, go on and continue winning the games that you should go on to win. And what we saw coming back from break, they won against the Golden State Warriors, 124-111. And then we talked about this miraculous Sunday comeback from being down 21 points to coming back to winning, beating the Dallas Mavericks, 108-111, or 111-108. Now, I think it's fair to say that we can't expect a basketball team to finish off. This is not no Golden State Warriors. We can't go expect the Lakers to go finish off undefeated. As much as maybe Lakers fans want to see the team go undefeated, we can't expect them. And I'm not expecting them to win every game. I'm not expecting them to lose every game. It's being able to control the games that you win and control the games that you lose. For example, Golden State is not much better than you. Oklahoma State that they played back last night was not much better than you. Picking up those 2 victories was a must, right? I think that's just as point out flat and said. The loss on Tuesday against the Memphis Grizzlies, 121-109, I think is fair enough to say because Memphis right now is sitting on the top of the conference. So that, I understand that you're not going to be able to win each and every game, but it's being able to win the games that you can win heading into, for the remainder of the season. And you look at the remainder of the season, they have Friday game at home again. They have 4 games at home, I believe, regular season. Yep. Then they have what? They begin a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game series at home over the next 2 weeks against Memphis, Golden State, or Minnesota on Friday, Golden State on Sunday, Memphis on Tuesday, next Friday against Toronto, and then on that Sunday, they wrap things up against New York before they go on the road for 2 games. So this is going to be a very important, home stretch for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, here's the other thing that I guess I'm having, that you need to have in place if you're the Lakers and you want to go on and go to the playoffs. It's not just about, so we talk about having the games that you should be winning those games, and I completely is all for it. And you look at this, and I look at the schedule, and I'm like, Minnesota's going to be a decent challenge. I think you should win that game. Golden State, you should definitely win that game again. I mean, you're back at home. You just saw them about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Memphis is a struggle if you could come back. Toronto should be a walk in the park, and the New York Knicks should be almost a walk in the park. So out of the 5, I'm saying at least a 3 to, over this next 5 game homestands for the Lakers, 3-2 in the record. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But how do you go on and win simple games at home? And that's about keeping your players healthy, right? I mean, it's about keeping your guys, in check and healthy for the remainder of the season. We already know, all right, that LeBron James, we don't know a timetable of when his return is. All right, he has this ankle injury that, good thing he doesn't need surgery, which is great, but that's also a bad thing because we don't know how long it's going to be. And any period of time that either Anthony Davis and LeBron James are out of action, and especially together, nonetheless one or another, is bad because you're not giving your best foot out there. All right. Yesterday, Anthony Davis left early because of an ankle injury. All right. And I was told, based off of, I was reading the stats for yesterday's game against Oklahoma City. Dennis Schroeder, the guard, had to come in and really step up to the plate. All right. I mean, he put up a total of, let me see here. I got it right. He put up a total of 26 points. All right. In the win. He had 2 rebounds, 6 assists in the game. He was shooting 87% from the free throw line. He showed about 50% of his 3-point conversions, and from the field goal, 44%. Really good game, right? And you got Malik Beasley, you got Mo Bamba, you got Jared Vanderbilt, Tony Brown Jr., all players that could step up to the plate. But it's very important that you have and you keep yourself, LeBron James, Anthony Davis as healthy, because especially when you get into the games that really count the most, when you get into the games with the Memphis Grizzlies, with the Denver Nuggets, you're going to want your best foot forward. And I guess I get concerned because do I see the Lakers go into the playoffs. Yes, I do. I think that the Lakers have what it takes that they can, if they stay healthy and they can stay on a normal, streak and, at least win one game a week, type scenario, then they put themselves in a really good position in making it, being in the lottery, the play-in the lottery standpoint. But the things that there is required to get there, yeah, they could get there. But how they're going to get there is not when beating the best of the best teams. I'm worried about beating everyone else. So then when you get into the lottery and you get into the actual NBA playoffs, if the Lakers come in and I've heard this a million times. Yes, NBA playoffs are completely different. I just don't know how well they'll work up to a series with the Nuggets or with Memphis, nonetheless trying to finish off a regular season. So the Lakers have their hands full. There's no doubt about that. The Lakers have their hands full coming into the second season with LeBron James uncertain about his ankle injury. And with now Anthony Davis, who knows how long he'll be out. He's questionable for Friday with his ankle injury. So I guess I wonder how long it's going to last. And the other thing is, I don't think that the Lakers, the Lakers are going to have bigger questions in the offseason if they can't put something together and make some sort of playoff run. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think the Lakers could get to the playoffs this year? I want to know. I want to hear from you guys. All right. Our number one concluded here on the program. We'll get back with some more local sports around the town and all that fun, good stuff. You guys are listening to the Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions, we'll get away. This is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me.
most of mine. Even when your words fail, you try to keep it light. You realize I'm done right. You can be honest. I don't appreciate your lies. It's about damn time you get it right. I'm up all night.
Alrighty, welcome back. Hour number 2 here on the program. Excuse me. Sorry. It's got some really good news. I can't share with you guys, unfortunately. So, okay. Hour number 2, pretty busy. A lot of stuff to still talk about. But, shoot. I talked to you guys. I brought this up earlier this week. And, so we are going to be eventually doing interviews with the cast last month that I had a great time with Love's Not Enough. Terry Chappell II put on a play up at the Community Arts Center in Fairfield, Ohio, last month called Love's Not Enough. It was originally directed and produced. Really great play. And I had a blast with the cast members that he provided. And so the goal is that they're going to be doing it again. They've been asked to do a special performance 1 weekend only, April 7th and 8th. And as times come down, before they, this will be the last time you get to see it in Cincinnati before they try to take this on the road. They're going to be heading out to hopefully a whole bunch of other places. And so I encouraged a lot of people last month to go out, interviews. Now, given the time and knowing that, hey, we're going to do this again, we're going to get Terry back on. We're going to get the cast members back on here, talking to them about, their experience from last time, things that they could change for next time. And overall, just enjoy a conversation with them. And so we will be working on that. I told you guys that I was going to be able to sit down with Terry this week. Some things kind of change. May not happen this week, may have to happen maybe next week. But still look forward to that in the month of March. Like we mentioned, we have the Road to WrestleMania as the final roadblock is on Saturday, where Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn will once again do battle in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. This time is still for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. And this is the final stepping point because Roman Reigns won't have a single match until WrestleMania 39. Now, once again, we talked about this, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow. Things could change. I don't let it fool you just because it's not premium live, it's not on television or anything like that. Don't let Saturday night kind of fool you. We've seen weird stuff come out of these type of events. I want to say it was last year with Brock Lesnar having some great matches, some big, matches that can determine the fate of how WrestleMania goes about. And right now, we're still up in the air on just how or where, how everything is going to go down. Speculation with Sami Zayn, possibly being in a tag team match with Kevin Owens. Could we see Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns night one WrestleMania? Could we see Sami Zayn being thrown in to the one-on-one match with Cody Rhodes and Roman, making it a triple threat match? I mean, there are multiple scenarios that we could see ourselves in. And with about 5 weeks away, wrestling, there's only so many more, programs left to tell that story. And I think one thing that sucks is there's not a whole lot building up quite yet. We're still waiting on a whole lot. So, but yeah, Saturday night's going to be a big night. AEW Revolution. We talked about that. Powerhouse Hobbs won that Battle Royal. it's going to get a crack at with Samoa Joe again, and then the whole encounter with Wardlow last night. My thing is, and I guess this is just my take and perspective, is that I don't really necessarily. I think that AEW and this kind of storyline is taking a few steps back. And I heard this the other day, and I mentioned it on our show about it was Powerhouse Hobbs, it was Wardlow, it was Samoa Joe, all going at it at once. And then they moved on because then Darby Allin won the TNT Championship. And then just a couple months ago, Samoa Joe recaptured that championship title. Now we see Wardlow back in the picture, and now we're seeing Powerhouse Hobbs back in the picture. And I just, wrestling fans, are you guys liking this? Is this something that suits you? Because I feel like they're not making any progression. I don't know if they don't have an idea what they want to do yet, or if they have another idea and another direction they want to go out that they couldn't go down last time around. But I feel like they've kind of gone right back in a complete circle. And, you look at of all the opportunities of all these athletes that could possibly get their hands on Samoa and Joe, and we're just seeing the power force to be played. So I don't know. I'm not quite fond of it, but I guess we'll wait and see what Tony Khan has in store for us. All right, a couple of things around Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Cyclones took on the Tulsa Oilers last night. They picked up a victory, final score 5-7, with Josh Pasalt, Matej Picard, and Patrick Polino all putting up goals in yesterday's victory. And I think this is a neat victory, kicking off the month to a win. They do see them, and what I like about this win was that you've seen a lot of different guys other than your Andrusiaks and Vave of the Worlds. So it's a nice, exciting win for the Cyclones. The Cyclones, on this hand, in the ECHL Central standings as of this morning, Toledo Walleyes playing more games. They're currently in first place, tied at 74 points with the Cyclones, coming in 34th, 15-4. So Cyclones moved to 33-12-5 in the Indy Field, 33-19-2. Don't let the standings quite deceive you yet, because this is a neck and neck race for the ECHL Central, and it's been a fun one for like the last month. So I expect this to continue, and you're asking the Cyclones to kind of keep up their game, and they're been playing really good hockey as of late. February was moved out to February was 10-3, and 10 in the month standings, and you're asking Cincinnati to continue playing that well. I don't know if Cincinnati can. I like to, I want to, as a fan favorite, I want to see them play well, but it's going to be a difficult challenge, and it's going to be whoever outlasts the other person. Their next game is going to be this Friday against the Iowa Heartlanders. Puck drops at 7:30, and it's going to be mascot Pillow Night. I see the if you go on the website, and you can see their promotion. It's kind of like the pig wet pillow, like a little pig throat pillow. So we'll see a little bit of that as well. Moving around, Cincinnati Bearcats had their home opener yesterday against Miami, Ohio. They ended up falling short. It was a 5 hours 45-minute game, including the 2 hour, I think it was like 2.5 hour rain delay throughout the course of the game. The Bearcats fall short 15-12 in the combined score. Man, you gotta love the attendance. Their home opener, 2,503, really good crowd. Chase Hurst, starting pitcher for last night, went 1 inning, 2 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. As Max Bregman was the second pitcher who went a little longer, 2 1/3, but in the deciding factor, went 2 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, and 1 strikeout. Oh no, 2 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, and 5 strikeouts. Excuse me. And then Nick McClanahan picked up the loss for the Bearcats last night, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs, and 2 walks. Home runs last night for the Bearcats, Cole Harding and JP Sponseller all picked up their first home runs of the season. It was kind of an interesting game, and I don't know how much was affected by the weather delay, but the Cincinnati Bearcats came up to a 9-3 lead early on, and then just kind of started slipping away as the game progressed. They get ready for a 4-game series this weekend against the North Alabama Lions. They'll be at home. If you guys are looking for something to do, check out Cincinnati Bearcats baseball. Xavier Musketeers and Providence, ranked number 20, took on ranked number 19 as we keep grinding down to the end of the season, getting you guys ready for March Madness basketball. I don't know what's going on here. Here we go. Hold on 1 second. Type these things and you have them. Musketeers picked up the victory 94-89. Sully Boom put up 33 points along with Colby Jones at 29 points. Real key guys. And I'm, I really wish that these, listen, these are key players. And we know that. And they really shine all year round. Bohm went 11 for 19 for the free field goal, 4 for 19 and 3 points. Jones went nearly perfect, 10 to 11 on field goals, 3 for 3 from the 3-point range. When you see these type of numbers, you're like, oh my goodness. But you also kind of wonder, when heading into the NBA or heading into the March Madness, excuse me, I'm going cuckoo right now. I'm trying to combine my NBA and NCAA. Well, when you get into NCAA March Madness tournament, which is expected to begin next week, and yes, Xavier looks really good, but it looks like you're relying on 2 top guys. And unfortunately, let's make this clear, you're not going to win an NCAA tournament off of 2 top guys. Musketeers put up 45-36 in the first point. And then they also kind of started cruising in the second half, 53-49 Providence. And these are simple things, especially heading into this last game on Saturday against the Butler Bulldogs. You need to, I guess, all right, let's treat this game as an essential game, as if we were in the tournament. And because we need to start playing like that. We need to be able to complete games. And, giving up, leading in that, letting the gas off the pedal in the first quarter, the second half, it isn't going to complete you ball games. You ain't going to get away with that with Houston or with Purdue or, like we mentioned with Marquette, later on in the tournament. So, I think really we need to start putting away these ball games, not only early on, but maintaining that lead, hit that cruise control, because putting up, you're up by 9 points, and that's great, but not 9 points can easily be turned around in a heartbeat. Kentucky Wildcats fell short to fell short to the Vanderbilt 68-66. Check this out. 20,000 people for Kentucky's final home game of the season last night, moves the Wildcats to 20-10 overall, 11-6 in conference, and tough loss. Didn't really see a whole lot of great stuff out of them. Maybe, and I don't know the direction. I've seen Boise State beat San Diego State last minute, out of a comeback in the last 2 minutes of the game. The team was shooting 32% from the free throw range and 15% from the 3-point range. And let me tell you this, and just like Xavier getting you guys ready for March Madness, this is not a time for people to start slacking. This is the last game or two where people really need to start stepping up to the plate and saying, all right, here we are. Let's get something done and let's get ready, build momentum heading into the tournament. Kentucky is going to finish off their season on the road against the Arkansas Razorbacks this Saturday at 2 p.m. So we'll see how they finish off the season. And, coming up by next Monday, we'll have the bracket ready for you and everything that you guys need to know about March Madness. And it's going to be a madness, just like this month of March, and not just in basketball, but, baseball, wrestling, getting guys ready for wrestling. The Bloodline. As we mentioned, I think it's been a heavy week of the Bloodline. It's been the top team, top fraction of the WWE. But the Bloodline isn't the only fraction in history that has signified action for greatness. So when we come back from our break, I want to talk about the other top fractions that have made impacts and left legacies out there from their era and their time in history, and compare that to the Bloodline. We'll get all that still to come. Taking you guys up until 2:00 here on a Thursday. You guys are listening to The Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting the days, lost in the rhythm. Physical silence, no need to speak a word, laying here beside me. Don't wanna move too fast, Yeah. One step forward, two steps backwards, yeah. Immature lover who don't use big words, yeah.
I want to welcome everyone back to the program here. Wrapping up a 2-hour program here, 1:23 in the afternoon. You want to kind of talk to you guys for a moment. And if you guys are also, anyone out there new looking to upload, to learn a little bit more information about uploading great podcasts, and you guys have multiple podcasts that you guys want to start uploading, maybe be able to monetize and see the breakdown, statistics, and analytics, to all that good stuff, I want to introduce you guys to Spreaker from iHeartRadio. Now, I want to give a shout out to Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast, because it was these guys who introduced me to Spreaker, saying, hey, you get credit for the product that you're putting out there. And, they have a large distribution of your podcast, so you're able to be on places like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and much more. Literally, much more. And you'll get details about the information. You're gonna have multiple podcasts opening up. So I recommend checking out Spreaker.com for more information on that. Man, it's been a beautiful day. Nice day outside, a little chilly, a little bit of wind. We had some wind, some storms last night for a couple hours. I was cooking, just got home, had a conversation with the wife last night, and then we had the windows open, and some nice thunderstorms went by, quick and brief, but thunderstorms, light storms, some mini hails coming down. Man, I wasn't expecting that. And then like my instance today, so the wife has some issues, not some issues, but she gets temperate and scared throughout these conditions. So it kind of hit hard over here where we're at. So it's like, all right, what do we do? Jumping down to the ground and kind of taking cover, and all right, are we going to lose electricity and stuff like that? I was kind of more worried about the car. About the car, I don't, like the way I was hearing the lightning and the hail coming down, and I was hearing it on the tin roof, and it was pretty loud. It sounded pretty big chunks. But I was worried about. Let me go check out to the car. I was like, can we go outside and watch it? And she was like, no. So I'm gonna sit here. So, but hopefully everyone was safe. But only kind of a storm and I wasn't even expecting that to hit. Everything was kind of coming down south. So, nice little rain that came through. All right, the Bloodline. All right, I think the month of March, leading up to WrestleMania, is going to be a big, what do you want to call it? Month for the Bloodline. We talk about this set Friday night where, Roman Reigns has his hands full. He has to still deal with Sami Zayn, who he thought was put behind him from Elimination Chamber. Well, guess what? Sami Zayn, you have to face him one more time this Saturday in Toronto at the final roadblock to WrestleMania. So on Friday, you're going to definitely have to deal with Roman Reigns. On Friday, Roman Reigns are not only going to have to deal with Sami Zayn, but the Roman Reigns is going to have to deal with the turmoil that's been progressing with the Bloodline. Jimmy has been trying to get Jay back onto the Bloodline side, and he seems to still be somewhere in the crossroads of the middle. And I think that both Jimmy and both Sammy have valid points of what Jay should do. But realistically, I don't see the Usos or the brothers really separating. Now, I saw this on social media throughout this week. They were talking about, is it time to see Jimmy versus Jay? And, I don't know. So he's going to have to deal with that. And then also on top of that, he has to get ready for WrestleMania, because if Roman Reigns can successfully obtain his unified WWE Universal Championship, in 4 weeks, he's going to have to defend it on night 2 at WrestleMania. And so Roman Reigns and the blood has his hands full on SmackDown. But there's no doubt about it that the Bloodline is probably one of the best entertaining fractions, maybe with the help of Sami Zayn, in the 2020s. Right? And so the thing is that, are they the greatest fraction of all time? Because there has been other fractions out there that has had to deal with the wrestling world and the fan base much difficult. So I want to kind of give you some of the other fractions. I want to talk about them. And this was an article given by Eric Beeston on the Bleacher Report. It was published yesterday. And he kind of goes in, so I'm going to be talking about it. And what I'm saying is that I'm not going to rank them. I'm just going to talk about them. And I'm going to allow you guys to decide where the Bloodline fits among the greatest. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is that, the Attitude Era was also a lingering era. You think about D-Generation X and Evolution, and there was things that you could have said then that you most definitely can't say now. There are things that you could do back in the 80s that you can't do now. And so as time is evolved, how well has the Bloodline adjusted, and comparing what they're capable of doing to what these other fractions were capable of doing, are the Bloodline better than the rest? And it's going to be a tough question to answer. So we're talking about, the first one comes to mind is the Hart Foundation. Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Davey Boy Smith, Jim Neidhart, and Brian Pillman. Formed back in 1997, all right, with Bret Hart's heels turn, the Hart Foundation quickly became a centerpiece of WWE booking. The anti-American fraction were beloved everywhere but the United States, where fans greeted them with the deafening boos and opposing the popular Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Ken Shamrock, and Goldust, among others. The Hitman and his brother Owen Hart, brothers-in-law Davey Boy Smith, and Jim Neidhart, and family friend Brian Pillman have been underrated in the stories of WWE come from behind in the Monday Night Wars, with many forgetting they helped shift the tone of the company's programming. Whether the top heels in America or beloved heroes north of the border in their native Canada, the Hart Foundation ruled over WWE for an unforgivable summer. It's their lack of longevity that hurts their spot in the rankings, even if they are still revered some 25 years later. Now, some of these fractions to these younger generations of professional wrestlers, you're not going to know too much information about. The Hart Foundation kind of happened, I was only 3 years old. It only took place over the summer. Wasn't really talked about too much after that. You still talked about today, but, the accomplishment. And I still believe that is something said when you could have yourself as such a heel where you're hated everywhere you go. Isn't Roman Reigns in the Bloodline just like that? I think more than so the Bloodline overall, Roman Reigns overall is just like that. The Bullet Club. I'm not going to go through this list. It's a long list. Anywhere from AJ Styles to Cody Rhodes to Jay White to Nick and Matt Jackson to Kenny Omega, to Tama Tonga, Chris Owens, Chris Bay. You know what I'm trying to say. Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows. Probably one of the greatest outside the WWE fractions ever created. That still is going on today. That is, always on a revolutionary change. There are a few modern fractions more influential on the landscape of professional wrestling than the Bullet Club. The brainchild of Prince Devitt, aka Finn Balor, in the mid-2010s, the New Japan Pro Wrestling Group would go on to become the headline act around which top storylines would revolve. And I think right then and there, you have to stop and you have to recognize Finn Balor and what he's been capable of doing since then. Before he came into WWE, there is not many athletes out there that are capable of coming in or making a name for themselves before heading to WWE. Finn Balor was one of them. You can't even say AJ Styles. Yes, he made a name outside the WWE, but he was a part of WWE before. And regardless of the outcome of his first run appearance in the WWE, whether it was a hit or not, there was plenty of wrestlers that didn't make a hit, but you still got the chance of wrestling with the WWE. I'm talking about guys who had to make a name for themselves without stepping foot at the Performance Center or without stepping foot inside a WWE wrestling ring. Unfortunately, the group struggled to maintain the momentum when Omega, the Bucks, Page, and Rhodes left to create All Elite Wrestling. And despite the wealth of talent, it hasn't been able to reach its heights prior to 2019. Still, the popularity of the Bullet Club and the sub-factions of such as the Elite allowed the most prominent members to realize the desire of wrestling fans for the true alternative, indirectly leading to the formation of AEW. D-Generation X, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Rick Rude, Chyna, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn. The faction began as an anti-authority, rebellious one that spat in the face of traditional and followed up with a irrelevant crock chop. It raised hell, mocked the likes of Bret Hart, The Undertaker, before Michaels lost to Steve Austin at WrestleMania, threatening its existence. However, Triple H picked up the ball, dropped it on his teammates, and ran with it, recruiting X-Pac and New Age Outlaws to fill out the group alongside him with Chyna. What resulted was one of the most popular fractions of all times and a staple of the Attitude Era. Definitely not wrong. The reboot in 2006 was a watered-down mess that relied on dad jokes as Triple H and Michaels attempted to revive the past while making life nightmares for Vince McMahon. But fans brought it and the merchandise, so it was success. D-Generation X was capable of lasting in two different parts. You had the Monday Night Wars, and then you had the Attitude Era. You had the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. And I think you need a little bit of D-Generation X, and something that's definitely will not fly this time around in this era. DX was more about laid back, having fun, but they still dominated. They took care of business. If there was a flaw, it was in how far they removed from their original ideals the group became over the years. The edginess wore off and the controversy was extinguished, and what remained was a spectacular of the old group rather than the return of the form. And I think that's something that had to be accepted over time. The Shield, technically the Shield, are a trio, but there are a few groups in the last 20 years that have made the impact and continue to have a presence like they have. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose. They came into the scene in 2012 and immediately provided WWE television with such indeed injection of its youth. This was the new look of the WWE. In with the new, out with the old. They were dominated. They dominated everything, capturing titles, taking out major names like John Cena, Big Show, Randy Orton, Sheamus, right back. And then you had the snap of Rollins to go on to win their own ways. Just think about that for a moment. Roman Reigns, a part of the Shield 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Evolution, Triple H, Ric Flair, Randy Orton, Batista, the foundation built by the Four Horsemen. Okay, more of them shortly. Came Evolution, which was attempted by Triple H to recreate something he loved about the 80s Jim Crockett promotions placed in modern wrestling settings in 2003. The result of the fraction that highlighted both him and Ric Flair while helping to develop this two stars of the future, Randy Orton and Batista, and that they sure did. Okay. It was a rough start, thanks to a large part of ultimately injuries to the Legend Killer and the Animal, of course. But they eventually got on track, and they dominated. When Randy Orton captured the same World Heavyweight Championship, Triple H coveted through the fraction saw its first fracture. The third generation star was booted, and in the wake of the betrayal, Batista became to notice that all was not as it seemed within the group, as Triple H made moves that directly benefited himself instead of anyone else. Number 3, New World Order. And this was a long start here, but you had the members of Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. All right, this was to emphasize you had G-Generation X in WWE, and then you go on to have this New World Order of a group of guys that knew that they could get away with anything and everything under the supervision of Eric Bischoff. Unfortunately, this kind of got too big for the bridges. A lot of people came in. They started taking charge of what they wanted done, and ended up hurting Coming in at number 2 is the Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, and Solo Sikoa. Now, they mentioned Paul Heyman, but you know what? This has been a development over the past 2 years. And in order to create the Bloodline, Roman Reigns had to do something that I don't think any other fractions had to do to create the fraction that was so successful in the Bloodline. And that was he had to take out his own family members and Jay and Jimmy in order to get them to acknowledge him and walk on the same line that he did. Now, I would arguably say that this is probably one of the greatest fractions in the 2020s than we would ever see. And, making history today where wrestling is still it's not such a demand, but you have to live up to this expectation. You are also living off of a second and third generation families that come into one. This isn't, the Noki's coming into, this isn't the Samoan dynasty coming into one and all achieving everything else, fighting with each other. This is, they are stepping up and accomplishing the things that they need to accomplish, saying that we are the dynasty. And this is the dynasty. And last but not least, before we hit the break, is the Four Horsemen. Initial members of Ric Flair, Ole Anderson, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Lex Luger. Okay, Four Horsemen. May not have been the first wrestling fraction, but they were the inspiration for all the other ones to come after. The result of a one-off line by Arn Anderson at a promo during which he referred to himself, Old Blanchard and Ric Flair, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. A group grew into a dominant entity at the top of the Jim Crockett promotions. They were the heel foil to popular baby faces such as Dusty Rhodes, Ricky Steamboat, Nikita Koloff, and the Road Warriors, Barry Windham, and Sting. Flair's bravado, Blanchard's arrogance, and the Andersons' gleeful ability to beat people up helped establish the group as one of the most over wrestling history. Over the years, stars will be cycled in and out as needed demanded. With the aforementioned, Windham being a great addition, but the core of the Flair and Arn remained consistent. The influence of the Four Horsemen can be seen in every major fracture that has followed, including several on the list. There is a main eventer at the head of the group, a dominant tag team, and an enforcer type in the mid-card champion to go along with them. The Bloodline, D-Generation X, Evolution, and even the core of NWO are evidence of the group's influence on the immediate and long-term future of the industry. There are still cited as a permanent fracture in wrestling for nearly 40 years. After forming is a testament of what Flair and the company created by accident while selling a few multi-wrestler tag matches during the territorial days. What do you guys think of this list? Four Horsemen still at number 1. Bloodline still at number 2. Who's in your top 3? I'm going to give you my top 3, and we'll change into talking about some football coming up. Last break, taking you to the bottom of the hour. Throw-in continues here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty, 147 here. Want to give a big shout out to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. There you go. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. Alrighty. You know, listen, I didn't grow up watching the Four Horsemen, but I will tell you this, that, you know, I think it is valid enough to say that the Four Horsemen are the entity, are the inspiration, are the entity of future greatness of fractions to come. And, you know, I obviously Four Horsemen is at the top of my list. I think sometimes, you know, people do forget about them. They're the longevity, 40 plus years, but 40 plus years and you're still talking about them. You know, just like WWE, you know, like tag teams and like wrestlers. If your name can still be talked about for the next 40, 50, 100 years, then that's you did something right. You know, for example, it's The Undertaker. His WrestleMania streak is going to be talked about forever. 100 years from now, we'll still be talking about it because no one is ever going to come close to winning 20 consecutive WrestleManias. It's just like winning 20 consecutive World Series or 20 consecutive Super Bowls. You're not going to win 20 consecutive WrestleManias. No one's going to come close. And so my question is to you, is the Bloodline going to be a fraction that is going to be talked about for the next 50 years? Is 3 years long enough? See, the Four Horsemen has always been able to come together under any circumstances, any promotion, anytime, anywhere. D-Generation X has been able to come back anytime, any place, anywhere. And that is the reason why they're still talked about and they're still relevant today. The Bullet Club are still talked about outside of WWE because they're anytime, any place, anywhere. Now, I think, you know, you separate from the core of the Bullet Club to where they're at now. And yes, maybe it's not as the greatest thing. Sure is the longest. Out past an NWO. Now, you know, when I think of NWO and I think of the Bullet Club, I think of originals. Yes, there's a couple of people that make it special that, you know, came in and it was additioned later. But really, you think of the original. NWO. The reason why NWO is so remembered is because this was the first thing that took out, that really competed with the WWE. And it wasn't just about competing. You really, when you were watching NWO and in WCW, you saw guys like Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And then you started seeing additional guys added on to the membership. Okay, and I mean, I know this is a long list, but I think it's still worth being mentioned here. Let me pull back up NWO real quick. You got also Ted DiBiase, which was part of, you know, I mean, you had the Giant, which was later to become the Big Show. You know, you had Miss Elizabeth, which was a very big entity. Buff Bagwell, Randy Savage, Conan, Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude, Dusty Rhodes was a part of NWO. Brian Adams, Scott Steiner, Lex Luger, Sting, Stevie Ray, David Flair, Bret the Hitman Hart, Jeff Jarrett, Booker T, Shawn Michaels. I mean, you know, like, when you think of NWO, it really got away. And these were names that when you saw them, not only in the other promotion, and that was WCW. But when you saw them be a part of this fraction that was just dominant and was arrogant and was just, disrespectful, and this was the epitome of this is the ultimate heel. And at one point, I think NWO had more heels, had more members than baby faces on the actual roster. And when you had that, there was I was getting Amber Alert. But when you looked at that and you looked on the WWE side and you first saw, hey, WCW is competing with us now, and they actually have talent that can beat us, and then you see the NWO and they could beat us. And I'm like, yeah, that's the reason why they're in the first scare. The Four Horsemen is on the top of my list. And then it comes down, to be honest, the new NWO as number 2. I would put Evolution as number 1. No, you know what? As number 3. No, what? As number 4. Excuse me. And I'll put Bloodline at number 3. And then I put DX at number 5. And then, what's the other ones that came across afterwards? You had the Shield at number 6. And the number 7 will be the Hart Foundation. The Hart Foundation, it was just too small of a run. And that was because how hated they were, or they were capable of being, in 1997 in the United States. And most of their time was in the United States, in the territory area. The Shield, yes, this was kind of the beginning of bringing up these new talent guys, like, a look at Big E and a look at Xavier Woods. The Shield, Jinder Mahal comes back into the picture. You had Baron Corbin, who came up, Alexis Bliss, Carmella of the time, Corey Graves. So this was that generation of guys coming up. And this was when you really said, all right, if NXT was going to work, these guys, these first group of guys that are coming up from NXT, right, had to be successful. And I think we've really seen a change in WWE in that way. But the Shield, although their dominance, they kind of, mellowed out and they came through. I mean, there wasn't nothing new that the core, you remember the core, that fraction with Wade Barrett, the new Nexus, they did the same exact thing. So it wasn't like they did anything new and exciting. No, it was just 3 men that was given a chance to make a name for themselves. They took it. And over the 10 years, look where they're at now. Like, they really have come a very long way. But the Judgment Day, I don't know. They're still on their work. I don't think we're seeing the last of them anytime soon. And I hope we don't. But the Judgment, but not the Judgment Day, and the Bloodline, both of them. But I want to see the Bloodline a lot longer. And on top of that, I want to see the Bloodline. I don't know if they're a name. We'll talk about them in the next, in 10 years. We'll talk about them probably in 20 years. But we'll still be talking about the Four Horsemen. We'll still be talking about DX. We'll still be talking about the Evolution. This is going to be, the Bloodline is going to, I think, has to continue if you want them to be the long set in stone reign. And not only that, but one thing I will tell you, especially if down the road we do see The Rock somehow get involved with the Bloodline, if that happens after it's all said and done, and if they can continue working down the right way, then we will see, then the Bloodline will be that fraction that not only people remember and can talk about, but they're going to be talking about it for reasons and how things went down, and see this big family feud that I think is enjoyable. And honestly, sometimes things, it's time to start that. Well, a segment I did not get a chance to get to today is talking about Tua Tagovailoa and to talk about the quarterback concerns in San Francisco, which is also related to guys like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. So that is going to be on my bucket list for tomorrow. Now, tomorrow I got a nice event going for you guys today. We're going to talk a lot of SmackDown tomorrow because Roman Reigns has his hands full on SmackDown with Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, and the turmoil of the Usos. So we'll be talking plenty of SmackDown. We'll get you guys ready for Reds baseball as they get ready to play the Chicago White Sox. Heading into the weekend in the final games of NCAA basketball and in NCAA baseball. Take a look around that. Cincinnati Cyclones get ready to kick off a 2-game homestands over the weekend. Get ready for that. Also, getting you guys ready for NXT Roadblock, which is next Wednesday. We got to get ready for WrestleMania as the road to WrestleMania continues, and Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns tomorrow, Saturday night, and then WWE Evolution predictions and all that still to come. So we have a pretty good, impactful show. I don't know about you, but I enjoyed today's program. Let me know what you guys think down below. All right, be sure hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Make sure to have those notifications on. I want to thank you guys for listening to us on audio platforms and guys watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. We'll be back again to wrap up another week of the throw-in. And until then, thank you guys for watching us. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Take care.